I woke up to the sound of metal scraping against metal. It was coming from my backyard. The noise was so sharp it made my teeth ache. I froze in my bed, the darkness pressing down on me. The scraping didn't stop. It sounded like someone sharpening a blade, slowly, deliberately. I live in a small village in Nigeria. Nothing ever happens here. I'm a welder, just like my father was. My family has worked with iron for generations, but we don't talk much about it. There's an old story my grandma used to tell about Ogun, the god of iron. She said he watches over people who work with metal, but if you disrespect him, he comes to collect what's his. I always thought it was just a story. That night, it felt real. I finally got out of bed and grabbed the flashlight I keep by my bedside. My hands were shaking, but I told myself it was just the wind or some animal. I stepped outside, and the night was silent, too silent. The frogs, the crickets, everything was quiet. Then I saw it. In the middle of my backyard, there was a figure hunched over my tools. It was a man, but not like any man I'd ever seen. His skin was the color of molten iron, glowing faintly in the dark. His eyes were like two red hot coals. He held my hammer in one hand, turning it over like he was inspecting it. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice cracking. The figure didn't look at me. Instead, he spoke, his voice like grinding metal. "You've forgotten." "Forgotten what?" I asked, my heart pounding. "You work with my gift," he said. "You take from the earth, shape it, sell it, but you've never given back." My mind raced. My grandmother had told me stories about making offerings, pouring palm oil on the tools, leaving kola nuts at the forge. I never did any of that. I thought it was just superstition. I, I didn't know, I stammered. The figure stood up, towering over me. He looked down at the hammer in his hand, then at me. Ignorance is no excuse. I dropped to my knees, begging, "Please, I'll do whatever you want. I'll make an offering. I'll honor you." He tilted his head, considering me. Then he said, "One way or another, iron must be fed." I don't know what happened next. I woke up in the hospital a day later. They told me my neighbors found me passed out in my backyard with burns on my hands. My tools were scattered everywhere, warped and broken. I don't weld anymore. I can't. My hands shake too much. But every year on the same night, I pour palm oil on my old hammer and leave it outside with kola nuts. I don't know if he'll come back, but I'm not taking any chances. Iron must be fed.